Hello algebra students, this is going to be a video that's going reviewing over factor by grouping. So we're going to start by first going over just the steps that we did last week as far as factor by grouping goes, and then we'll do a couple examples within the video. So the first thing is that you always look for, remember this is from last week, is you look for the GCF. In this case we don't have a GCF, so we're just going to go ahead and start the second step, which is multiply the two terms, or n terms here, the ax squared c terms, and that's going to be negative 21x squared. We also are looking for the two terms that add to the middle term, in this case is 4x. So we have to think multiples, those things that multiply to negative 21, it's going to be negative numbers, because if it multiplies to a negative, then that means that it's going to have one negative and one positive. So you can list them out, negative 21 and 1, or 21 and negative 1, or 3 and negative 7, or negative 3 and positive 7. So in this case, because we're looking for it to add to 4, those are the only two numbers that do. So that's what we're going to choose. And 7x. So then we're going to go ahead, I checked it off already, but we're going to go ahead and rewrite it. We're going to keep the x squared, and we're going to fill in, instead of 4x, we're going to replace that with minus 3x plus 7x in order. It doesn't matter. Then we're going to look at the first two terms. What is the GCF of those two? It's x. I'm left with 7x minus 3. So we're factoring out that GCF. Then I'm going to look at the third and the fourth term. And what do both of those have in common? Nothing. So just 1. So plus 1. And then I'm left with 7x minus 3. And then we're just going to go ahead and pull out the greatest common factor of both of these two terms, which is 7x minus 3. So I can take that out. And what I have left in the pink term is x, and what I have left in the blue term is 1. And that would be your final answer. So you factor it out, and then we put the GCF in the parentheses. All right, so we're going to kind of do two more. This is the same. We're looking for greatest common factor, 12 divisible by 3, 4, 2, and 6, as well as 12 and 1. You need to think all of those can be divided by 2. Yes, they can all be divided by 3. Yes, they can also all be divided by 6. And that's the largest. They all also have an x. So once I take that out, I'm left with 2x squared minus 5x plus 3. And this is what we're going to use to move on. So our end answer is going to be 6x times something times something. Or maybe not, because if it's prime, you can't move any further. All right, so I'm going to take the inside of this, and I'm going to say I'm looking for two terms that add to negative 5x but multiply to 6x squared. And so we want to think two negatives, because if I do a negative times a negative, I get a positive, but when I add them, I get a negative answer. So we look at factors of 6, so like 3 and 2, 6 and 1. But because we want them to add to a negative, we're going to go ahead and make everything negative. So we're going to go ahead and pick 3x, negative 3x, and negative 2x. And that's what we're going to fill in. So and it doesn't matter the order. Oops. Minus 3x minus 2x, and then plus 3. And then we do the same thing. I'm going to look for my GCF of the first two terms. That's x. I have 2x minus 3 left. Then I'm going to look for the GCF, just pick purple, of the second two terms. And I could pick 1, and I would be left with this. But again, we want those parentheses to match. So in order to get that to work, we're going to actually make this a negative 1, and that'll change our signs around within. So then from there, I can pull out the 2x minus 3, and then I have left x minus 1. So our final would be 6x on the outside, that GCF from the beginning, and then also our two other factors as well. Okay, this will be the last one that we do in the video. Yes, this one. So this is when there's no middle term. I'm going to look again, GCF, but there is none. So we're looking for something that adds to 0, but multiplies to, let's see, 9 times negative 16, which is 144, negative 144, x squared. So typically when we have something add to 0, it's a perfect square. So it'd be like, it's a negative perfect square, negative 144, negative 25, negative 36. So we're looking for two things out of 0. They need to be at the exact same. So for this one, it's kind of easy, negative 12 and 12. When we add them, we get 0. When we multiply them, we get negative 144. So I'm going to rewrite it, bring down the 9 squared. Instead of 0x, I'm going to do minus 12x plus 12x minus 16. And then from there, I'm going to look at the first two terms. What's the GCF of those? That'd be 3x. And what I have left is 3x minus 4. And I do the same thing for the second set. Both of those can be divided by 4. So since it's positive, I put a plus 4, and then in parentheses, I do 3x minus 4. And ding, 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 because they match, we're good. Everything's brilliant. We go ahead and take out the 3x minus 4. And what we have left in the red term is 3x, and what we have left in the blue term is a plus 4. Okay? And that is all. I'm actually going to skip that last one, but hopefully you're feeling a lot more comfortable about factoring. I'm actually going to leave this one up here, and I want you to go ahead and type in the answers for if you factored this. So go ahead and type that in on that pause point. Okay, have a great week.